All right, we are back because I accidentally hit the end broadcast button instead of the end screen share button. So I apologize if anyone was listening and watching along. We're going to get that fixed out and post a new link to anyone else that may be wanting to listen, and then we'll go back into where we were. There we go. So before I was so stupid and into the call without notice, we were talking about Northwest Flow events and how one of those events was the Duratio 2012 that moved through the Virginia and North Carolina region. Daniel was telling me after I ended that he remembers that event. So what happened up in your area or area around you, Daniel, during that storm?
Well, that was one of the more incredible events I've ever seen from a Northwest Flow type event. What happened is you had an area of thunderstorms develop, and of course you had a lot of good upper energy with that storm, and it come out of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley region, and that was at a time of the year where we had pretty good draw up of low-level moisture. And what happened was, as that derecho eventually formed and went south, of course, as you know, with a derecho, if you get a full-blown derecho to form, it almost kind of feeds on itself with the forward momentum and everything. But at the low levels, what happened is that moisture fed that event, and when it came down into the southern Appalachian region, it was amazing. The storm movement was in excess of 60 miles per hour, and I remember in particular it come off the eastern slopes of the Alps here where I live in western McDowell County, and it kind of gusted out a little bit in front of it, so the wind energy actually expanded more out in front as compared to where all the raining was on the radar returns. And I would guess I had a wind gust at my house close to 60 miles per hour 5 to 10 minutes before the heavy rain occurred. And that tends to happen with the derecho type events, especially if it gets a lot of forward momentum and when it crosses the Appalachians, like it did with that event. Now, for the mountains of North Carolina, we get Northwest Flow events, or we get the potential of them pretty often during the late spring and summer months. And sometimes they do make it, and sometimes they don't make it across the mountains. But that event that we're talking about in particular, it more than just come across. I think it actually went all the way down to the coastline off the southeast coast. But that's that's a type of phenomenon that we look at, and it happens during this time of year, and it's very quick moving usually. You get a really good gust of wind, you get some heavy rain, frequent lightning. It doesn't seem like you get hail with those as much as you do with other type storms. Those storms are more the wind and the heavy rain threats, but the derecho events are definitely one that can cause damage, especially the more organized ones. And the one 2 years ago, I still remember just how quick it come through and how strong it was. So those events, they're really something. And the cool thing about it, you see it develop so far away, and you just take the basic synoptics of meteorology. You look at where your wind flow is coming from, and you kind of use that to try to predict where it might go. Because I know a lot of times the global computer models, they try to initiate stuff like that on the model data, but they're not always good at predicting it. And then there's sometimes they don't predict it, and it'll come out of nowhere, and people are off guard when that happens. So it's amazing to see those type of events occur and how strong they can be.
Oops, I was muted. That's a big thing that you mentioned. The models really don't seem to pick up on that very well. I remember specifically that event. The Storm Prediction Center didn't even have Virginia in a slight risk that day, and we ended up being in a moderate risk a little bit later that afternoon due to the wind threat and everything associated with that. So it's certainly an event that can bring us some interesting weather. And, of course, in the wintertime, we also have Northwest snow flow events as well. Daniel, do you want to talk a little bit about that and what happens in those events as well?
Well, what you tend to have in the wintertime is, it seems like you have it a lot when you have frontal passages, or if you have a Gulf low development that makes its way on up the coast. The winds tend to turn out the northwest, and when you get into the wintertime, it's kind of a different animal. you're not really working as much with dynamics. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but you're working with low-level flow that does slide up the west slope of the mountains, and it helps wring out moisture along the mountains. And, we talk a lot about in the winter, places like Boone and the high country, they get their snow off the northwest flow. And those events they can sometimes kind of have their own surprises as well, even just to the east of the mountains, but normally it's kind of relegated, more localized to the high country.
Mm-hmm. And so, as we see the storms move through tonight, let's take a look at some of the possible model solutions for that and what they're predicting may happen. I've got a favorite model I always like to go to, and it's called the HRRR, the High Resolution Rapid Refresh model. So we're going to bring that up here. There it is. So hope you all can see that. So we'll track it off here over the next couple of hours. This is currently around 8 o'clock. It matches decently with some of the storms around there. Storms over Louisville moving this way. But watch how they come and kind of follow the northwest flow overnight, moving up into the mountains and then eventually dissipating as they head up into the Piedmont of North Carolina, and then tomorrow morning maybe reinitiifying over the Fayetteville area. So we'll have to see what happens with that. And the interesting thing, that I think about northwest flow is, it seems like we always have the ability for those storms to sustain themselves long into the overnight hours, just because of how the flow is out of the southeast surface, and it keeps bringing in that warm, moist air across the region as well. So Austin's got an image up there, I think, of some storms currently, probably over near the Denver area, Austin?
Hold on just a second. These are, right now, these are in Colorado, not near Denver.
Don't think your screen share is working.
Uh-oh. Alright, can y'all see it now?
Yeah, now I got you.
Alright. Yeah, these severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued by Pueblo, Colorado's National Weather Service Office, producing quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. Let's see if that verifies here. Some of them are producing weak rotation near Towner, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Not too strong, but something to watch.
Well, speaking of Denver, why don't we mention that real quick? I don't know if anyone that's been watching our show has seen the pictures coming out of Denver, but this kind of looks like a snow picture. That's actually hail covering the ground near the Denver, Colorado area. Big hailstorm moved through there this afternoon and brought about 5 or 6 inches of hail in some areas. The police department had to push cars out of what looks like snow on the ground there, but it's actually hail in some areas. Here's another picture that was sent in from the Denver Police Department. 5-inch deep hail in some of those areas. So hopefully none of the storms across your area produce that tonight, and I don't expect any of them to, but that's some pretty remarkable images from there, and more images coming out of Denver, as Austin has up there. The tornado warning earlier today near the Denver airport, I think it produced a weak tornado out there towards that area.
Yeah, right at this time here, it was crossing right over the radar. And as soon as the tornado had passed by that location, I was watching the actual observing station there at the airport, and it went out. It said not a current observation anymore, so they probably have some damage to that.
Yeah, I know a lot of the airlines were trying to figure out how much damage they had to their airplanes, either the hail or wind damage or whatever it was. The tornado didn't actually hit the airport, but there was a lot of damage, I know, from hail across the area too, with that big supercell out in that region. So why don't we switch gears a little bit and come back closer to home and talk about the Memorial Day weekend coming up. I'm actually heading back down to Charlotte on Friday to help with Speed Street and the Charlotte Emergency Management Office with their initiative to make sure no thunderstorms approach without warning during the event and keep everyone safe down there. So I'm heading back for this weekend. I think temperatures are going to be very nice as we go through the next couple of days. Very warm tomorrow in Charlotte with temperatures near 90, if not a little above 90. And then on Friday, about 85 for some of you who are lucky enough to have Friday off. And a slight chance of thunderstorms that day, and then we'll cool it down a little bit as we go into Saturday and Sunday, around 80 to 82 those 2 days. The Coca-Cola 600 is on Sunday. I think some great weather for that. No chances of rain this year, delaying that. And then as we go into Memorial Day, I think temperatures are going to be around 85 with temperatures overnight around 60. So, Daniel, what about your region coming up this weekend?
Well, weather-wise, it looks like we're going to have a pretty good Memorial Day weekend as well. The showers and storms that could occur maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday, but I got to believe by Friday things will be even pushing far enough down to where us farther west is not going to have that big a deal. Tomorrow probably the worst day. But as we head into the weekend, it's looking really good. Highs probably in the mid-upper 70s to around 80, maybe even in the Asheville area. Definitely 70s once you get above 3,000 feet in elevation, maybe some 60s once above 3,500 feet. But it's going to be good weather, about as good a weather as you can ask for this time of year. I'm sure the Blue Ridge Parkway will be hopping with people since most of it's open now, especially in the northern part, north of Asheville. But it's going to be great weather, and Memorial Day itself looks good. Starting around Memorial Day, we're probably going to start warming up again, and there's some signs we may get a little increased humidity and could maybe pop up something maybe Tuesday or Wednesday next week, just your typical air mass thunderstorms. But things looking really good for the holiday weekend. How about you, Austin?
Around here this weekend, Saturday and Sunday and Memorial Day, it'll be sunny. Highs around 80 on Saturday, lower 80s on Sunday. We might hit 88 degrees Memorial Day around here. I won't be around here. I'll be going out of town in Virginia. The overnight lows in the mid-50s to around 60. Looking really nice for Memorial Day.
So overall, just a very nice weekend coming up across the Carolinas and into Memorial Day as well. Kind of a short show for us tonight. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up as we approach the 8:30 hour. But next week, it's a little bit of a bigger show. We're starting off a hurricane special as we approach the onslaught of hurricane season. Remember, it begins June 1st, so if you don't have your preparedness items, go ahead and grab those. I know tax-free holidays are starting in many states in hurricane-prone areas as we go through the next couple of days. So grab those and join us next week as we talk about some major hurricanes of the past years, actually past century, I should say, across the Charlotte area. There's a great book actually on this written by Rick Schwartz. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it. It's called Hurricanes in the Mid-Atlantic States. Really great. Actually goes all the way back to Jamestown, detailing some of the hurricanes and nor'easters that impacted the East Coast. So we'll talk about that, get a little bit out of that book, and maybe have a special guest on as well next week to talk about hurricanes across their area. So as you probably noticed, a lot of our panel members are out tonight. Joey bit his tooth or broke his tooth or something. It's Joey, so what do you expect with him? So he's out tonight, and Scotty is dealing with his first graders up in Burke County as well. So Scotty dealing with the little kids and having fun with them, I'm sure, up there, as he's a first grade teacher up there in Burke County. So any final thoughts from you guys?
Not much. Just again, we're looking at a good weekend. I'm really looking forward to our hurricane stuff. We're going to start spreading out. In fact, that's going to be a 2-week deal. Next Wednesday show, like I said, we're going to talk about some of the past events and how tropical systems affect, the whole Carolina region. It's not just the coastline, even all the way back up here in the mountains. Things happen from tropical systems, and usually it's not good stuff. And I'll have some info in relation to the mountains and stuff that's been going on over time. And I'm looking forward to this hurricane season. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And we'll get more into that here starting next Wednesday.
All right. Sounds good. And so no rant from Joey either this week, and I don't really have a rant either. I could probably go on one, but it's probably not my best interest. So, Austin, final thoughts?
I have no final thoughts besides get outside, enjoy your family, remember your veterans this weekend.
Very good. Great way to end the show. Thank you to all the veterans and folks that have gone before us on Memorial Day. Make sure you remember them coming up on Monday. The real reason you're off work on Monday. So with that, we'll wrap it up. And remember, if it's not a Carolina weather discussion, it's not a discussion at all. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody.